That's right. Well, I thought it was good. I mean, it's a good introduction into. All right, guys, I'm stepping up because they I mean, they can handle those teams, but the difference
Oh yeah.
with those teams
Well,
versus
no,
what
maybe
we
she is
had,
taking Tracy Miller. I don't
they
know.
had some plays that they were doing. They had a little bit of.
Okay, we're gonna start.
No. Then it says Lisa Wheeling moved to JMS Academic Intervention as math.
The most.
I mean,
So,
they were running plays,
Marcus,
but they're the YMCA for him. I
think-
mean,
I
they
think
can
he's
do. They
eighth
just
grade.
gotta organize.
They
it.
just regress a little bit.
Yeah.
And the only play they want to do is
We'll call the August 12th regular school board meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And if I could please ask our student athletes that participated in state to please lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, chair notes that all board members are present. Consideration of agenda, I believe there was one late addition mid-afternoon today, no other changes though other than that, correct?
correct.
Okay, so I believe it was 10.8 that was added. Review and act of the field trip request for volleyball. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
so moved.
Sandy, is there a second?
Second.
Lauren? Discussion, anything anybody wanted pulled from consent or anything? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our next order of business is public comment, and I do not believe that anybody submitted any request to speak. So item 6 is very exciting, the acceptance and oath of office for Ryan Dannert, our new board member. Is that Hope?
I'll pull it up.
It could be Hope.
Person?
Oh, I didn't realize. Okay, I hadn't read it ahead of time.
Come on up in front of the camera.
Sure.
And then
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
if you have to face the screen, that way you can read it behind me. So, I swear and affirm that I will support the Constitution of the
Oh.
United States.
It's not up there. Oops.
Right there.
Right there.
Okay.
I swear and affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States
And of this state.
and of this state,
And that I will discharge faithfully the duties of the office of school board member
and that I will discharge faithfully the duties of the office of school board member
of Independent School District number 717 to the best of my judgment and ability.
of Independent School District number 717 to the best of my judgment and ability.
You are now official. Welcome aboard, officially. Jordan Pride Awards. We will start with, is Stephen in here?
Yes.
Okay, Stephen, how about if we start with trap?
Well, I'm going to introduce our trap coach and our trap participant, Jeff Raddick. If you want to come up and talk a little bit about the season and how things ended up, and we can hand out the awards.
First, I'll give you a little history. If you weren't familiar when you actually approved trap, Minnesota is the birthplace of high school trap shooting. When you gave approval for high school trap in 2010, 2011 range, we were about the 50th school in the nation at that time for high school trap. Since then, it has grown. It is in over half the states in the nation. Thousands of teams, tens of thousands of participants, and like the school, or like the league likes to say, in the state of hockey, trap shooting is king because they surpassed hockey this year for participants. So we did very well this season. We won the conference. We missed our chance at state, but in trap shooting, it's a national event, and we were one of the 240 top teams in the nation. So we went to nationals. So if you're in the top 240, get to go with the team of 5 to nationals. So I registered for nationals, and it's 2 days. You have to qualify in one day, and you got to shoot the second day as a team, and they can also shoot the third day as individuals. We ended up with 40th in the nation. So about a third of those teams are still from Minnesota, but the rest are from out of, or all around the nation. I think the farthest participant they had was Hawaii. So it's really good. So as a team, we ended up 40th. We also had the individual, Ben Swanson ended up 37th in the nation. So, hopefully, they're all young. So we got many more years ahead of us. So, our 5 people, we got Jacob Stay. Ben Swanson. Caleb Schmidt. Hunter Lensmeyer. And John Lensmeyer.
Can we get the coaches all up here to get in the picture with the boys? Young men, I guess not boys.
And could you guys move over just a little bit so that,
Yep, you want to move, slide this way a little bit?
slide this way a little?
There, just a little. That's good.
We'll put the screensaver up, Matt, or the backdrop.
Yep. Hold on 1 second, we're gonna put something up behind you.
What do you want me to put up?
I don't know what's there, what?
Blank screen.
A blank screen? I thought there was a Jordan one.
There is, but it'll take me too much time.
Okay.
Okay. Congratulations.
Yes,
Great job, you guys. Special thanks to you coaches. I know you put a lot of time in helping develop these men into being not only great shooters, but great young men. So thank you. Okay? You're up.
Excellent. Next, we have track, and I'll stand in for track. Stand in for track on behalf of Mr. Perko, who is running our PAC meeting tonight. So I'm going to pull up the trusty old Twitter account. When in doubt, go to Twitter, right? So we had a highly successful season, and the boys accomplished something that only 4 other teams in school history accomplished, and that was win a state championship. So our boys track and field team was the 5th team in school history to win a state title. So highly successful season for them. The girls also had an excellent season and had a number of individual participants, and I'm going to try to grab some of them right here. So let's have the boys team come on up front here, those who are present. Okay, we have Bryce here. So Bryce Sievers. Bryce not only was part of the boys championship team, but also did a number of individual and team events as well. The 4x100 meter state champion with a state meet record, and the 4x200 meter state champion, and with 4x200 meter state championship as well, and a 3rd place triple jump. So 3 particular.
Wow.
Marlon isn't here, but Marlon Wiley also was part of the state championship team, obviously, 4x100 meter state champion, and 3rd place in the 100 meters dash, as part of the state championship team. Also part of the 4x100 meter state championship crew and the 4x200 meter state championship, and also as an individual placed fourth in the long jump. We have Jerry Powell, also part of the state championship team and the 4x100 meter state champion relay team and the 4x200 meter state champion relay team. So, Kaden Bruzek is not here, but also is part of the championship team, 4x200 meter state champion as well, for that relay, in the 6th place in the 4x400 meter as a team relay as well. Max Sapleka, and Max is not here tonight with us, but along with the state championship part of the team, 2nd place in the 4x800 meter and 6th place in the 4x400 meter relay team. We have Mason Bogle, who is here, part of the championship team, 2nd place in the 4x800 meter relay team, and 6th place in the 4x400 meter relay team. Ben Larson, in addition to the team championship, 3rd place in the 300 meter hurdles, 5th place in the 110 meter hurdles. Rob, no Aiden tonight. He's up back. Aiden Langheim, part of the track and field state championship team, and 2nd place in the 4x800 meter relay team. Simon Kaiser is part of the team, championship team, but also 2nd place in the 4x800 meter relay team, 4th place in the 800 meter relay, or excuse me, 800 meter, and 6th place in the 4x400 meter. Jordan Austin, also a member of our championship team. Julian Morales, part of our championship team. Sam Crony, part of our championship team. So we congratulate all of those individuals.
Stay up there, we need a picture. Get together, we need a picture.
Okay.
Great. Congratulations. Great accomplishment, boys.
Thank you.
Amazing. Amazing job.
For our girls track team,
They're over it.
I'm just going to read their
Back me.
awards. So Maddie Kess participated as an individual and placed 4th in the triple jump. So Maddie Kess. Jesse Westman was an individual entrant in the pole vault. So Jesse participated as an individual in the state tournament as well as Basha Babcock. And Basha participated in long distance running. I can't remember which event, but Basha participated. And Kendra Kruger was 9th place in the 1600 meter run. So she was also an individual. So congratulations to those girls. All right. Did I miss anything track? I don't think so. Congratulations. Thanks for being here, guys.
Yes.
And then moving on to our 3rd Pride Award winning group tonight will be our golf team. We have a number of individuals that are here, as well as members of our girls team. First, we'll recognize our boy entrant. Thomas Gutzmer participated in the state tournament as an individual entrant, and he was tied for 4th place, which is the highest finish in school history. So congratulations to Thomas, who obviously graduated. And to our girls team, another state tournament appearance for our girls, and did us very proud. 4th place finish, which is the highest finish in school history for our girls golf team. And we want to recognize these individual team members: Emily Henderson, Rachel Henderson, Autumn Sibley is also a member of the team up here. Molly Kelly,
Great job, girls. Thank you, young ladies. There you go.
Thanks again to our track team, parents, our golf team and our track team, all for being part of this. I know it's kind of a tough August, June was tough, everything's going on then as well, but we thank you for coming back in as we kick off another year. It probably worked out that the PAC meeting was going on for some of you. But again, great job. Thank you for representing Jordan Public Schools so well and all that you do, and to our coaches for giving kids, young men and women, a diverse opportunity to participate in something that will become lifelong activity in some cases, or just showcase talent. So thank you so much.
Okay. Talk about the staffing update, or was that just for information only?
Just for information, I can just briefly touch on it. We have a couple open positions left. Part of it is due to late resignations and things like that.
Does anybody have any questions about any of the staffing changes or vacancies or
I have a
anything?
question on some of the descriptions, like elective support and JMS math. What is that for? Like, what do you mean by elective support? I think of electives, I think something different.
Can you, which one in particular?
Actually, any of them that say elective support. So you have Alicia, who's JMS math elective support. Like, I'm not sure what the description on the right versus, like,
Yep.
the other notes, and then Nathan Steele, JMS teacher, I don't know what they're doing.
So Nathan Steele would be, the elective support means they're teaching a course out of their particular area. So like if they're math, they may be teaching an elective that you don't have to have a particular license for. For example, they might teach like make it or break it, one of the elective course offerings that we've added that doesn't require a specific licensure.
Okay, so on the left, the JMS math, that's the licensure, the teacher, where she was, and then she's doing JMS elective support that is not math, that is something else.
Yep, so they, in that case, I believe she's teaching, Ben's here, 5 classes of math. Is that right, Ben?
Yeah, so Alicia Lotka is teaching, we actually shifted some things around with.
Want to come up, Ben, to the podium?
And I'm going off my memory here, so Alicia Lotka in particular, she was scheduled to teach 7th grade math. So her licensure, again, go back to that. Her licensure is elementary ed with 5/8 math. So it's a very attractive licensure because it gives us lots of flexibility. So she can teach any middle school math class, and she can teach any class K through 6 with that elementary licensure. So Alicia is going to be teaching, I believe it's 4 sections of 8th grade math. An elective class. One semester it is a music applications, and I can't remember second semester what that is. And then she is supervising the study hall, so that gives her 5 classes plus her supervision. At the start of, when we started building the schedule, she was going to teach 7th grade math as well. But in order to lessen the number of preps that she had so she could streamline herself, we moved that to Mark Biskins, who we just hired. And he will be teaching 7th grade math in a co-taught setting, so he'll be actually teaching 7th grade math with Lisa Reeling, and then he'll teach the other sections of 8th grade math.
And Lisa moved from an 8th grade math to RTI position.
Is 7th grade the grade with the high student count, or is that 8th grade?
8th grade.
So then isn't Bruce 7th grade math?
No. So there's 6 sections of 7th grade math. So in order to have Bruce teach the extra math class, that bubble math class, there's 7 hours in the day that have to be taught for 7th grade math. So you have to have someone else take one of those hours. honors math, I believe it's first hour, his prep second hour, and then he teaches the other math classes throughout the rest of the day for 7th grade. Nate Steele is similar. He and Kelly Heyer are splitting their Kelly Heyer has a middle school science licensure, so she is able to teach 2 science elective classes in 7th and 8th grades. That licensure covers that. She also has an elementary licensure, so then she can teach a reading intervention class. So that's why when we're hiring, it's important to look at licensures because it gives us flexibility with that elementary licensure.
Great, thank you. Other questions? Okay, thank you, Ben. Okay, consent agenda, we have the July 8th meeting minutes, monthly finance reports, a nice $2,500 donation for the golf team from the Jordan Baseball Group, and Mighty Cause Food Shelf, $45 JPS Golf Team, from Jordan Baseball for the golf team, $2,500, Jordan Education Foundation staff grants in the amount of $51.88, and I believe Connie and I will be talking about that a little bit later in the foundation report. Minnesota Deer Hunters Association for TRAP, $200, Clancy's for run-of-the-mill, $200, Hometown Bank, run-of-the-mill, $200, Sidewick Lumber, run-of-the-mill, $200, the ECMC Foundation grant for JES, what is ECMC?
Melissa, can you speak to that?
That's the same grant that, oh gosh, I won't remember the exact name, Ben received it as well at the middle school. I have to look up, sorry. It's a parent who works for a company that is willing to fund grants for school districts. And we have no, thank you, there's no connection for us as far as, it's just, not to say it's free money, but it's to do with what we would like for us, you know, whatever it is that we have a need for. So they don't put any boundaries on it like, oh, it has to be for reading or it has to be for science. So when we were contacted to receive the grant, it was more of our company looks to donate to schools, and because I have a student that attends Jordan Elementary School, I'd like to be able to offer this grant.
Great.
And they also have a student at the middle school.
Great. It's a nice amount, $5,000.
Yes, very generous.
Riverland Bank, run-of-the-mill, $200, Rademachers, run-of-the-mill, $200, Picarnas, run-of-the-mill, $200, Quatman, run-of-the-mill, $200, and Albrecht Masonry, run-of-the-mill, $200. Then we have a couple resignations, Tracy Mullenbach, Trista Smith, Christine Mensing, and Allie Manelli Fenstermacher. New hires, we have Toby, I have no idea. TG, thank you, TG, okay. Why doesn't he just go TG? No. Toby TG, he comes in at BA 30, step 7. Brian Aldrich coming back, I presume, to do the CIS.
No, he's actually teaching physics.
Oh, physics?
He's doing that online.
Okay.
He'll be teaching online and then coming into do labs once a week or so.
So will we still have the CIS thing?
AP chemistry, yes.
Yes,
AP
okay.
chemistry, yes, will be taught by our new teacher.
Oh, okay, gotcha, okay. Brian will be at BA 30, step 22, special ed para, Tanner Rogers, grade 1, step 1, industrial tech, and we're bringing back Leah Willard at a BA step 5. Special ed para, Sunny Foe, grade 2, step 1. Another special ed para, Crystal Lomprecht, grade 1, step 2. Early learning services para, Gloria Altoff, grade 7, step 5. And then we have a couple of coaches all on Schedule C. 7th grade football, Tony Kuski. Second assistant football coach, Brian Heller, and B squad volleyball coach, Megan Geis. And then we have an FMLA request for Andrea Nold. So, Rob.
Got a quick, just clarifying question.
Yep.
So going back to some of the gifts and the donations, and knowing some of the kind of the coordination that we're trying to do between education fund, between booster, between what comes directly into the district. For some of these, it looks like they're kind of fundraising-ish and kind of run-of-the-mill kind of makes sense. I guess I'm wondering, golf team, trap team, those specific dollars, is are those kind of within kind of the framework of what we're trying to kind of put in place? Is it kind of we're slowly kind of getting to that place, and so we're just kind of working this stuff in? Where is, I guess, Joe's thoughts in terms of the framework of trying to make sure that we're staying coordinated with these multiple efforts that are in place and starting to get more into place?
Good question.
Well, the golf came from working the state baseball tournament, so that's where that money came directly from. So, I don't know. It's just a flow through directly to the golf program because their team worked. There'll be more of those. The boys basketball team worked the Ames Arabian Horse celebration, and Ames Corporation is going to make a donation to the basketball program as a result of that. So those types of fundraisers are really non-intrusive on the community. They're more of a service fundraiser. You know, I think, are you asking whether they should flow through the Booster Club or?
No, well, I'm just wondering, I'm just making sure that as we've kind of started to put this framework in place and we're starting to kind of get it communicated out, just to make sure that there's that consistency. And I'm sure that it's there. I'm just, now that because it's so new, wanting to make sure that we're starting to get kind of in the habit, because especially as the Education Foundation starts rolling too, it's going to just be that much more imperative, at least in my mind, to have that streamlining and coordination, so that there's kind of a one voice going on.
I don't think there's any earmarked expenditures, so they're just donations that will go into that account within the booster. Well, they're being made to the school district, so they will just be earmarked, Amy, correct, into a student activity account. But in the case of those that they don't have a student activity account, so then they would have to go back to the booster club.
I think right now, any differently, I think they're just in the general fund under a golf code. And so when they spend it, it'll go through the general fund.
So does that mean it's part of the golf's budget that is allocated from the district versus fundraising dollars that are routed through the Booster Club?
Yeah. I mean, the booster club would have to send a donation to the district, and then it gets put into a code specific for that particular activity.
Well, I guess based on my understanding, is that the Booster Club is kind of a holding entity.
Yep.
And so every single sports and activity has one of those accounts, and there's tax advantages and other kind of rationale kind of for that. And then when that activity or that sport needs the dollars, it goes from Booster Club to the district. Joe, as activity director, is the champion, and so he coordinates that, or the person in that role coordinates that, and that's kind of how it's supposed to kind of flow.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of if there's duplicative accounts or dollars are coming in kind of through a back door, that's where potential miscoordination can happen. And so that's I guess that's, or that's the question of, is that the process, or are we thinking about, kind of something differently? It's probably just something to make sure Joe's aware of and kind of comfortable with, but just kind of the communication and keeping kind of everything in sync. That's why I'm kind of asking the question.
His activities handbook, it says that every purchase needs to be, whether it's something that he's requesting funds from the Booster Club or approving something under the general budget of that particular activity, he has to have approval over. So I don't know that it matters where it flows, because it's more about the expenditure than anything that you can get out of compliance. With these particular activities, with a golf, we spend so little on golf that it's really not a compliance issue in terms of.
Yeah, I don't think it's a compliance. I'm just wondering about the consistency of how it's being communicated, how it's getting rolled out. If that's something that we're wanting as some of these channels for dollars that are coming into the school increase and potentially get more complex, that we just have a framework in place that we're comfortable with.
Yeah, so it very easily could just flow right into the Booster Club account and just sit in that holding account until there's a requested expenditure, and then the donation could be requested of the booster, you know, obviously the booster club would approve a golf expenditure if they have the money in their account, and then it would flow through the school. Maybe a better, more streamlined way to do it, so it's all in one place. I don't know if that's something we can write a check back to the booster club, or.
And I'm not suggesting it for this, I'm just saying kind of more, just kind of as it kind of gets as it unfolds.
Part of it, you know, I think we need to be cautious, or not cautious, but we need to be cognizant that we need to give public recognition at some point to those donations. I mean, that's why we do
Oh,
it on
yeah.
camera. And we do need to do the resolution piece, so we just have to make sure that that all
Oh, of course.
flows in order the correct way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess I don't know the background on how these different organizations decided how the money would flow, so that's a question I'll have to ask Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, to be continued then. Okay.
Amy has a comment.
But like if, with Deb's, concern like about proper recognition, if those dollars would flow right to the boosters, the board would not recognize them. Because when we get them back, it's gonna be from the boosters, not from.
Those
I mean, that's
organizations.
just one point to consider.
Right.
So we don't
Yeah.
recognize when the booster is doing donations the same way we recognize everything else?
A lot of it is, they're just covering the expenses from that.
Right.
Like, the groups have fundraised for that money.
Yeah, we don't say, this is a donation from the booster club to the golf account from, you know, in this case, the baseball.
Though we could though, I mean, it's not like it would prevent us from saying that.
You could.
But I think, but, correct me if I'm wrong, legally, the school districts need to formally accept all donations.
Oh, but these, I mean, these would be, well, I guess I'm thinking about two different things. You have to formally accept and acknowledge, so that's one piece. The question though is then, how do you recognize it? Do you recognize it that these were dollars that came through the education fund, based on the generous donation of Mr. and Mrs. Smith? Or do you just say the Jordan Education Fund, as an example? So, and I don't know if there's technicalities kind of related to that, but I
think
guess
we're
in
gonna-
my mind,
Yeah, we're gonna run into this because there's gonna be, I mean, every month we can see there's donations from different organizations that they want it to go directly to the school. They don't necessarily want it to go to, like, the $5,000 education grant. They want that to go directly to the school rather than the Jordan Education Foundation, for example. I'll be honest, I don't know how the whole baseball, I know they work the tournament, I don't know how they decided where that flows. It very easily could have just gone into the booster club account, you know, for golf. So at some point, a decision was made to make the donation to the school. I don't know if they just wrote the check out, if the baseball association just wrote the check out to the school. It came to the district office, we then put it in.
Yeah.
in the
Oh, yeah,
account.
no, totally. And I'm just asking just the kind of the clarification of the protocol. Because at the end of the day, this was something, this specific one was, Joe's handling that in terms of, okay, so how did these dollars go and are they gonna be approved or not? And just wanting to make sure that there's kind of a procedure of how to think through some of these, just because of all the work that's happened over the last previous months, just to make sure that there's not a piece of this that's slipping through the cracks type of thing.
Sure.
Can I just add something? Sorry, I come up to the microphone, so stop it. I apologize, I didn't realize that this was gonna be on here, so I just wanna give credit to the ECMC as an organization, it's a foundation that has made a commitment to giving back to furthering, populations that, of school districts that serve under represented populations. You know, I'm assuming that part of it is we're a title school, so when we have a family who works for an organization that provides that opportunity to give back to schools, I think we're very fortunate to be able to just get an email, really, that's what it was. Ben and I were contacted by Sarah Haig, who is a member of a ECMC that happens to have school, or kids in our school, and to be able to say, you fit our vision, that you're educating, served population of students, you're innovative district, we're gonna just give you this if we can get the word out for that, because this just happened to land in my lap and in Ben's lap, which was very fortunate. It would be great if we had more of those types of organizations that develop foundations.
Yeah, I think this is fairly obviously new territory because now we have two entities that didn't exist 5 years ago, really. We have a booster club and a foundation, where in the past, the district has just accepted donations, and now we have, you know, preferred procedures in place that we want followed. So it's just, I just wrote myself a note, the flow of dollars for fundraisers, and, you know, how should that procedure work from both the education side, but also from the athletic activity side.
Sure.
And it's an interesting question I really don't know the answer to.
Well, and too, TREP is community ed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, right.
that switches it totally different too.
Sure.
So, you know, so
Yeah.
you have got something different in
Yep.
that too.
And I think where I'm coming from is just that with all of these different entities that are there, we just want to make sure that this is as smooth and streamlined as possible. So these are all good
Good
things to
discussion.
be,
Yes.
good opportunities for us to kind of think through. But we want to make sure that we're being mindful of this, because I'm hoping that it gets bigger and bigger.
Right. So I'm hearing that that should be an ongoing conversation with Joel and Matt and staff, so, good, thank you. Okay, so we have several consent agenda items. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Rob, is there a second?
Second.
Sandy, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving consent items signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Review and act on the substitute.
On the donations,
What about it?
where we all go through, say aye.
Oh, resolution. No,
Resolution.
no, we don't have to, because that's on consent. When it's on consent, you don't have to do roll call.
We don't have to roll call for all donations? I thought we did.
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
Not if it's part of consent. That's the one exception. That's the one exception. This resolution we will. Okay, review and act on the substitute pay rates. Matt?
I Hope did a nice job of putting together a data, just a spreadsheet to show what other districts around the state pay, and these are just the districts that responded to us. We obviously put it out there, and you can see the neighboring districts, there are several of them on there. In particular, Belle Plaine, New Prague, Eastern Carver County, Prior Lake Savage are all in a row there, and Tri-City United and Jordan are the first 6-7 districts, and you can see the comparison. Jordan's at $129 a day.
I thought we paid our retired teachers more.
I did too, that was my question.
Yeah.
No, we bumped them up. They were at 125. We bumped them up to 129 because with the whole TRA piece and not paying the TRA, we did a bump.
For everyone or just retired teachers?
We were actually below what we were paying our other teachers. We were higher at one point for our retired teachers. We were at 120 a day for our regular subs and 125 for our retirees.
Right.
But then we went to 129 a day
For everyone?
for our non-retirees because we wanted to compensate. This was a year and a half ago. We wanted to compensate them for their loss of TRA.
Right.
So we bumped it to 129. Well, we never addressed the fact that our retirees were still at 125. So last year, mid-year, I think, we brought it up to 129 to match. So they actually were higher, then they were lower, and then we brought them up to match.
Okay, so everyone is getting 129?
Yep.
Okay.
So your recommendation is to keep it as is?
I think here's my, just, again, it's not a science, but everybody's in the same boat. I hear this conversation constantly about a substitute issue. I don't necessarily think increasing pay is gonna solve the problem. We're just gonna spend more money. So at this time, for this school year, I would recommend keeping it the same rate of pay as we have been there. We're competitive with our neighboring districts. In fact, in some cases higher.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Tom, is there a second?
Second.
Lauren, okay. Discussion, questions?
Who did that?
Well, consistently, with Kelly Services, we've been not able to fill our para jobs.
Nobody can.
Nobody can.
Nobody can.
It seems like we're a little lower on the para.
Yeah, you're right, Connie, as you look at this, we are.
We're a little lower on the para. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh. That's a good point.
well, I kind of think at least food service and para should be equal. But then if food service, well, they would probably still get
Yeah,
the
but-
same amount of hours.
What is our starting rate for a para, though? Is my question.
$12.50.
Our starting rate is?
Yeah,
So would we pay a sub higher than?
That's our step, I believe that's our step one.
That's the only thing is.
And I don't remember what is our first step for food
I don't disagree with you,
services.
Connie. I think that paras should, substitute paras should get higher, but,
I'm just,
I agree, I know we have, I mean, it's,
I just know consistently we hear back that Kelly Services telling us they can't get any. If, I don't know, like, if Matt says we'll just spend more money and not get more people, but I would like to think that if the pot was a little sweeter, we'd get some more
yeah.
professional candidates that would maybe want to be paras for us.
Because they could go to Belle Plaine or New Prague and make $1 more an hour.
Right.
You could consider bringing it up to, 13 or 13.50, that would match Belle Plaine and New Prague.
Are the paras in Jordan Union?
No.
yeah, Belle Plaine is a full $1 more, New Prague's a full $1 more.
Everybody seems to be consistent with their food services too, majority of them.
I don't
Yeah,
think I can recommend going to 15, 17 an hour, that's quite a
No,
jump.
right.
Yeah, no.
No, I'm
And
not,
that's
I'm not
fair to
saying
the
that,
people who are-
but I'm saying that that's what it says here is,
I think it's
so is
pretty
the $12.50 is our first step for paras on their,
They may be
I think so.
unionized, together, I don't know for sure in
But
other
thank you.
districts.
is the
Belle Plaine
15
is. Belle Plaine is union.
Oh,
with their food services?
Oh, no, with the paras. I don't know about, food
No,
service is employed by a different, they're employed by TAR.
Yeah, because actually, we're the highest for food
Yeah,
services.
we are for food service.
And for custodial. So
Yep.
I guess Connie, I agree with you that I think the,
I think the paras
I think the
should-
paras-
they're very valuable. They're in
Yes,
the
they are.
classroom
I
and
100% agree.
we believe that we're putting our children first. I would think it would be so beneficial to a teacher to have that extra hands and eyes in the classroom. I just really think that it's worth, if we can, I'd rather have that spot filled. And if money is what's deciding it, I think we should do an increase.
So how do we feel if the starting pay for a full-time para is less than
That's
temp?
my concern.
That's a challenge, I think.
There'll be negotiations, ramifications.
there will be.
Yeah. Yep.
I think it's one of those cart before the horse things. I think you have to handle the negotiations of the paraprofessional group and then consider, after that point in time, what the sub rate, so maybe we start the year with, it is where it is, and then make the adjustment after that negotiations process, because that is a group that is up for negotiations.
Are they up this year?
Yeah.
I thought they were opposite for teachers.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
The custodians, food service.
Or opposite?
I mean, because, if you look at this, I mean, the paras they are one-on-one with kids.
Right.
Yep. Unlike food service and custodial, not that they're not important, but.
What's the base or starting step for food services?
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
But there, like Matt said, there definitely would be negotiation repercussions.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Amy, can you look that up? Yeah, your computer.
We are on the low side.
You have access to the share?
Across the board.
for paras for the sub. We're on the lower, we're definitely in the lower half.
1547.
How much?
1547.
For food service.
Wow, okay. That's a
Does
big-
anybody have
that's a
any
big
idea
difference.
how many hours we're talking about? Like substitute para hours?
That can be
Probably
quite a bit.
Is it
Anywhere from
significant?
6 to 7.
But you mean
No, I
overall?
mean cumulative in a year. I mean, are we talking about hundreds of hours or
Yeah.
are we?
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of those hours aren't filled.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't, personally, I don't think it's gonna make a difference
Okay.
in fill rates.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. We've had some discussion.
Can I add one more thing? I
Okay.
just think, can we make a note to go back to this after negotiations? I just feel like it's something that we should at least discuss.
I agree. Okay. We have a motion and a second.
I agree.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of keeping the sub-rate of pay as is and reevaluating the para rate after we negotiate the para contracts, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Can I, oh, I'm sorry. Is our food service, I know custodial is union, is our food service union
They're
too?
with
Same
custodial.
union.
Okay,
They're part of Local 284. We have 2 groups that are union, our teachers through Education Minnesota, and then Local 284, which is food service and custodians.
Okay. Okay, 10.2, review and act on resolutions combining polling places. Are any comments on that?
No comments. There's one polling place that's here.
And this is a resolution that we just need to do for the election every year.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second?
Second by Lauren. Okay, discussion. Hearing none, roll call, please.
Deb Pauley.
Yes.
Tom Vogel.
Yes.
Sandy Burke.
Yes.
Connie Hennon.
yes.
Lauren Pedersen.
Yes.
Rob Langheim.
Yes.
Ryan Daner.
Yes.
10.3, thank you, motion carries. Review and act on 2019-20 high school staff handbook. Jeff?
I guess I would just see if there's any questions at all or anything. There's no major changes in the staff handbook.
I noticed that there were some names referenced somewhere, and I don't remember where they were, as to who's a part of what groups and stuff, and I think you've had some changes in staffing, so you'll need to update
Yep.
this.
Mm-hmm.
Yep,
Okay,
yep, because we posted those last week.
gotcha.
Changes. Yep.
Okay, good. Any other comments? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the high school handbook, staff handbook.
So moved.
Connie, is there a second?
Second.
Rob, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Van, the middle school staff handbook, 10.4.
What you'll see in the middle school handbook, really no major changes. There's a TBD, the 7th and 8th grade math position. So that one we just filled on Friday, so I'll have to go ahead and update that with Mark Diston's name. But other than that, any other questions?
Questions? Okay. If not, all those in favor say aye. No, we need a motion.
Yep. So moved.
Sandy? Is there a second?
Second.
Rob, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 10.5, review and act on the elementary staff handbook. Melissa?
Similar to Jeff and Ben, we've had a few staffing changes that have come up that will be changed once we hire those positions. In particular, we had a couple of paras from the playground that are now special ed paras, so those jobs are posted. We're interviewing Friday or Monday of this upcoming week in the first grade. And then we had a policy committee that we met, and we just revised the one policy that we needed to make sure staff were aware of. So that was the only
entertain a motion.
So moved.
Rob, is there a second?
I'll second.
Ryan, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Melissa. 10.6, review and act on the high school student parent handbook addendum.
Yep. I looked at that. We gave you those policies a couple weeks ago. I already forgot what they were coming. Oh, yeah, there's a new, the state policy added in some wording that we had to add into ours. So it's the highlighted part in yellow, which is, this was added into our handbook on page 10. Which says students who do not meet or exceed the Minnesota academic standards as measured by the Minnesota Comprehensive Assessments administered in high school may be granted free admission to a public school that is available to any resident under 21 years of age. So that was added into policy change in 618. So we had to add that into our handbook. So.
Okay, questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion. So moved. Sandy? Is there a
Second.
Connie, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Review and act on the athletics handbook. Anything on that? Jim saw it, yeah.
Any questions?
Anything? If not, I'll entertain a motion. I was gonna say-
Motion to approve.
Tom?
Second.
Second, Sandy, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Review and act on the field trip request volleyball.
This was a new ad today, this afternoon, for a field trip in October, the 4th and the 5th, to St. Cloud for the tournament. We do have a new head coach, so, you know, getting her feet under her, making this request, I think it's still fairly timely.
Transportation is a school bus. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Rob. Okay, questions or comments?
There's no fee for this, right, to the students?
No.
Says that the Booster Club dollars are
Booster
paying
Club's
for the
paying
hotel
for it.
rooms.
Right, like, why can't I see that? Do I need like new glasses?
No,
It
you
says
just gotta go
describe-
to the next
Oh, I
page.
didn't go to the next page.
Okay.
So Booster Club is covering the expense?
Well, the money that they have in the Booster
Right.
Club, yep.
And
This-
that's for the bus, right?
That's for the hotel rooms.
Yes, the bus and the hotel.
Okay,
And entry fees covered by activities department.
okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Review and act on the resolution relating to the evaluation of school district-sponsored activities.
Our policy committee has been reviewing this particular policy for quite some time and is recommending to the board that, the full board, that the board acts on a resolution directing the policy committee to do further evaluation of this particular policy related to student activities and clubs, and to come back to you, once it's done that review of those activities, with a recommendation. So there'll be likely another resolution forthcoming after that process is complete. It is, for those of you who've been part of that policy committee and that discussion, it's not an easy one to tackle. There are emotional pieces, there are legal pieces. I think, obviously, you know, we know from experience that we live in a very turbulent social climate, and I'm proud of our district for doing this work, because I think there's a lot of districts that are sort of just ignoring it until something happens. And we're trying to be proactive and making sure that we have the appropriate policies in place. This particular policy, our legal team is recommending that we don't bring it back, and we take a look at how we allow different groups to use our facilities, and we base that off of our facility use policy instead, and the related equal access policies. So, to be continued, but that's what this resolution is about, is it's allowing our committee some more time to dig into this and come back to you with a recommendation.
And basically, it's putting a hold on any potential club request to become sanctioned by the board.
And there are a number, so we felt like it needed to come forth to the full board for transparency purposes. You know, there's several clubs. I know the video game club, which I think there's a niche for a group of kids, and we don't want to deny kids that opportunity, but yet we don't want to continue to add clubs because there's some financial ramifications. I've seen it before where districts add a club and they say, oh, everything will be covered. The coaches don't want to be paid, and then 2 years down the line, if they're doing a good job, they come back and ask to be paid. Now you're adding $3,000 more in your payroll. So there's financial ramifications, there's legal ramifications, there's equal access components, so there's legal ramifications as well. So we need to make sure we're on top of this and looking forward.
Okay. So I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Rob, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Tom. Okay, discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Deb Pauley.
Yes.
Tom Vogel.
Yes.
Sandy Burke.
Yes.
Connie Hennin.
Yes.
Lauren Hutterson.
Yes.
Rob Lincoln.
Yes.
Ryan Danger.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, review and act on the approval of Sandy Burke as the district speech judge and assistant coach, and as a board member for fiscal year 2020. So this, Sandy was hired as a speech coach, so the full board needs to be present when we vote on this. And any employee, any board member cannot make more than $8,000 in a fiscal year, and if they do work for the district, it needs to be approved by the full board. So we are requesting to approve Sandy as a district speech coach.
Motion to approve.
We have a
Second.
motion. A second. Okay.
So excited for you, Sandy. You're gonna be awesome.
Hope so. That's great. Any further discussion? That's great. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain?
You can vote for yourself.
No, I can't. I have a financial interest in it. I'm supposed to abstain.
Okay, so motion carries. Okey doke. On to board and administrative reports. Start with you, Mr. Helgeson.
Gosh, it's already that point.
Yeah, we went along good here.
All right, I attached a flyer on delegate assembly. We've had representation from our district before. We obviously have our MSBA president that could speak more eloquently on this topic, and Sandy as well, I believe, has participated multiple years on it. I know it's interesting. You get to help decide the platform for MSBA's work at the Capitol, and it's important work. So please consider being part of that. It officially opened the 6th of
The
August.
6th, yes, and it closes the
Is it the 30th or the
31st,
31st? Yeah.
30th, the 30th. And we are in Area 7. The state is divided up into districts and areas, and we are Area 17, District 13. And so we consist of Watertown, Norwood Young America, Shakopee, Prior Lake, Eastern Carver, Norwood Young America, Belle Plaine.
Sibley.
No,
East,
not
or
Sibley and
different?
not TCU. I think that's.
That might
I think
be
that's
I'll
it.
look it up.
Yeah, it's a really odd,
Yeah, it's a,
yeah.
Yeah, and we are allowed, because of our enrollment population, we're allowed 5 delegates between all the schools in that district. So Sandy has been a delegate. Tracy O'Brien from Shakopee has been a delegate.
Lisa Anderson.
Lisa Anderson from
Eastern Carver.
Eastern Carver. So out of all of those schools, people can self-nominate, or you can nominate them with their approval. So you go to the MSBA website and just nominate. It is a 2-year commitment, and the commitment involves going to pre-delegate assembly, fall advocacy tour, one of the meetings in November. Usually they're in St. Peter or Minneapolis. And then delegate assembly itself is the first Friday night and Saturday in December. So it's a overnight commitment. And it truly is grassroots political,
learned
setting the
so
platform
much.
for the school boards association. So this is the information that our lobbyists use when they go to DC and to our local state capital and lobby for public education. It's a great experience, great learning experience. So what happens is if we get more than 5 people that submit their names, then there will be an election. So all board members in these 7 or 8 schools, whatever it is, will get a ballot, an email ballot, and you will actually physically vote for the candidates. So, and I believe that will come out, September 6th will be the election if there's more. So Sandy, I think you've indicated that you're interested in
I have
doing
already
it again.
filled out my nomination. Yep.
Mhm. But if anybody else is interested, it really is a great
I
experience.
highly
So,
recommend it.
Yeah.
You learn a lot.
I have
Mhm.
had interest for the last couple of years, but with my workload, I haven't been able to.
Mhm.
But things are changing there, so
Yeah, well,
maybe I
consider
will.
it. It's great.
I have a lot more flexibility now.
All right, so we have that, and then, enrollment, this is when it gets volatile. I mean, I returned from a vacation today and I signed half a dozen enrollment papers, open enrollments, and so I don't know that this is gonna be where we land, but, it's a little different than what we expected, and not in a good way at this point, but, so as of the 12th, which is today, our enrollment is 1,855 students, and that's K-12. And then we add 16 tuition kids that, are elsewhere, but we receive the funding for those students, then we pay tuition agreements on those students. And then we have a projected 40 ECSE, that's early childhood special education students. We get half the funding for each child, so that's why we count it as 20. So our what-if budget count was 1,928 students, and that includes the K-12 enrollment and the ECSE. We are down 37 students compared to what we projected, so that's about $250,000, so $250,000. In talking with Terry Oaks at the elementary, she still feels we're gonna get 10 more kindergartners. Pretty confident in that, so we think about that, it's about $70,000, so we'll make up some ground there. I would expect we'll still continue to get some trickle-in enrollment as well. But that being said, if this continues to track, Amy's report indicated that we will do a revised revenue budget probably sooner than later. Probably looking September or October, do a revised budget. As a guess, we use models. Last year, our model, it's educated guess. Last year, our model, we projected, and we ended up quite a bit higher. And this year, we used the same modeling tool, and so far, we're tracking a little lower than what we expected.
Is it primarily in kindergarten where we were projecting higher than that, or is it in other grades too?
If we look at the enrollment, it's about 10 different, I think it's 11 different in kindergarten, if I remember right. But then middle school, our middle school numbers are up, but just not up to the level that, so we projected 617 K through 4, we're at 605, so if you add 10 to there, we're pretty much on projection. We projected 676 at the middle school. This is where the last several years have seen the biggest growth, and it just isn't as high this year as what we had projected. We projected 170 in grade 6, we're at 159. 150 in grade 7, we're at 140. 192 at grade 8, and we're at 190.
So did we, was that projection for sixth grade based on our previous year's students?
It's, well,
And then,
here's last year's kids. So 154 at grade 4, they moved down to grade 5, so we projected 164. And it's based off of a survival, it's a formula.
Uh-huh.
And it's been, accurate in the past. Last year we were low, so we thought we're gonna go with it, and so far we haven't reached it at the middle level. High school and elementary, again, if you add in the 10 elementary kids, kindergarten kids that we think are still coming, we're pretty much right on the money. It's just the middle school, and I think part of that is St. John's. We factor in how many kids are coming over from St. John's too, and that's been more in the past than we have seen this year.
Right.
But it's still August 12th. So I do think that we'll go up. But maybe not to the level that we thought.
are we net neutral on our open enrollment in versus out, or where are we up? We up, we down, we?
About where we have been. We'll have to, once things settle down, we'll get a report on that.
Okay.
But we haven't been net neutral.
Well,
Yeah. If it stayed the same, or,
I meant net neutral from what it was in previous years, not net neutral as to in versus out, keeping us flat. I meant from last year, are we roughly the same, or has it changed?
we'll have to run a report to look at that.
Okay.
Okay.
So we ended last year, just another interesting, at 1879. And right now we're sitting at 1875, so relatively the same number. Close my report again. Tim talked about this in his report as well, but if you drove by the elementary today, you probably saw a crane, and they lifted the new chiller on top of the roof, and they've got the boiler in place as well, so now it's just a matter of getting those hooked up. The chiller will be first, and the goal is to have that hooked up and running prior to workshop week, and then the boiler prior to the heating season, which usually is sometime in October. And again, regardless of results of the referendum, this is something that we were planning to go forward with. This was not budgeted for as part of the referendum, but it's something that we needed to do. The boiler is actually a backup boiler. We've actually been running without a backup for about a year, so this was insurance. The chiller, it's just time to replace that unit. It was at its end of life, so we couldn't wait any longer on that to see whether or not a referendum would pass. The carpet, we started a phasing in of new carpet in the kindergarten first grade wing. That's the new wing of the building. That hasn't been replaced since it was installed in 2002. And so a number of classrooms received new carpet there, and that's an area that will continue to phase in with that long-term facility maintenance dollars over the next several years until all those rooms have the newer carpet. Then around our campus, at the elementary school is no exception. Dead trees were removed and stumps have been ground up, so it looks a lot better. It's a lot safer for students out there playing on the playground. At the middle school, the entry area, you probably got a chance to see that. Last time we did a tour, I noticed there were some dead shrubs and trees, and it was unsightly, so that's in process. We added some Casota stones that were similar to the high school, and also out in front of the circ, as you came in, you saw those. And they were added, there's gonna be a couple more that are added there as well, and they double as kind of a seating area for kids, and try to tie the buildings together. And we waited on the elementary, again, depending the outcome of the referendum, we wanted to wait to see what we needed to do there with the entryway. Also at the front entry of the middle school, you notice probably new concrete poured. Now that we've established some walking patterns, we notice kids cut that corner. So we poured more concrete to hopefully alleviate having to replace dead grass every year. And then there'll be some stones eventually on that border there that allow us to plow snow in between, but also double as a seating area for kids, but also hopefully deter a new cutoff area. So that's just, that's part of the process. And electrical pole line cords are scheduled to be added again before the start of the year in the 5th and 6th grade Einstein lab. They were added to the 7th and 8th grade lab the year after completion, and we're going to be adding those to the 5th and 6th grade. Very similar to an industrial technology shop. So again, that's more of a transition STEM area or STEAM area. The quiet room was added to the DCD life skills area. We had our architects help us design that, and that was added there. And then we added a storage closet in the drama lab, which is adjacent to the life skills room and adjacent to the stage in the gymnasium. And that will replace the storage that was lost due to the addition of the quiet room. At the high school, the capital projects, the gym floor is fantastic. I think the banners and wall graphics are ordered, and those will be up hopefully by one of the very first home volleyball games. Can't promise it'll be the first one, but hopefully one of the first ones. Northern Air Controls is our new provider. They've been working on this the last several years to convert from one entity to the other, and we're doing another phase this year. We have some rooms that have never heated properly. The art room, some of the special education classrooms that were intended to be shop classrooms at some point. This never had the proper heating, so we're adding some radiant heat on those walls in there.
Do we have much left that's trained, or are we?
No, this is one of the last phases.
Things. Good.
And then the asphalt patching was completed. Again, it's a Band-Aid to help us get through hopefully a successful referendum. We added some asphalt to take care of those holes in the entryway of the high school. In front of the circ, as I mentioned, you saw the Casota stone. The lower half of the gym stations, there's plans to get those painted all the way up to the track deck and to paint that fresh white again. It's just part of that annual maintenance. Mr. Perkle. Track improvements included, which will occur, you saw from Tim's report, or we'll see from Tim's report, the flooding of the track surface that's scheduled for the 19th of August. So what they'll do is they'll come in with a rubberized coating, take care of one large track that's near the grandstands on the, what side was it? That'd be the south side of the track, southeast side, and then flood that and then repaint the lines. We hope that that'll give us 5, 6, 7 more years before we have to do a complete replacement, which will be $300,000–400,000. 2 light poles were added to the north side of the field behind the high school. That area is often referred to as a practice field, but we have lower level games that are played there as well. I don't know that it'll give us enough lighting to play a game, but it'll certainly will extend our practice time. We got the idea from the city of Jordan. They actually offered up their light towers that they use down at Lagoon. As we looked into it, it became more cost effective. We worked with our electrician, bought some older poles. They're steel poles. We refurbished them, and then they got LED heads for us. And by the time we were to switch back and forth every fall, the poles with the city, we'll be money ahead just to do it on our own. But it was spurred on by that partnership and that idea to work together. And then the Den softball field hasn't had any renovations yet, but they are coming. We're working with a contractor that did some other ball field work with us in the past. And what's going to happen there is the existing batting cage that's right along Hope Avenue, it's constantly washes. That concrete wall is bowed out towards Hope. That's all going to be removed. And then there'll be a new complex, a batting hitting complex that's put up right behind the field area, right next to where the baseball hitting complex is. And then where that old hitting complex was, that'll be leveled, grass will be planted. We're gonna do the fence all the way to the outfield to improve the safety, and then that'll be a seating area. Eventually could add some bleachers into that area as well. So that's gonna happen this fall. At our second meeting in August, 2 weeks from today, we'll do a board tour of all the buildings. That happens to be, first night of full workshop week, but it'll be a great way to see, rooms looking fresh and buildings looking nice and the grounds and things like that. So we'll do that on the 26th, and we'll send out the details of that. Workshop week, I'm not going to talk too much about that, but you have links there to, we do a master schedule, and then we do it by employee group just for readability. And we do it via Google Docs. I send out a hard copy letter, and then Hope releases these Google Docs, and then the principals follow up with email letters to try to conserve paper. But also, in case things change, these are very fluid documents. I have a number of referendum items. Those are all the community conversations, and these are large groups. We have one coming up next week, Tuesday, August 20th at elementary school at 6:30, then Monday, September 16th at 6:30 at our new site, which would be out in the farm field out there along Broadway. What we'll likely do is meet up on Hope Avenue as it extends on the backside. And it'll be a very makeshift, just give everybody an opportunity to see that site. It won't be like our auditorium or our inside type of conversations. And we'll bounce to the high school on Tuesday, October 1st at 6:30. And then finally, it'll be our fourth one of the fall, but fifth one overall, a large conversation at the elementary school on October 21st, again at 6:30. We've scheduled a number of information themes that will be going out associated with a referendum. You can see the dates there and the topics: safety and security, inquiry-based learning, maintenance and infrastructure, investing in our community. And then there's a required mailing that has, it'll be a fact brochure, but it'll also have the sample ballot questions that's required of all referendums. And then the week of October 21st, we'll resume with our themes, which include the responsible approach to future growth. And then on the 28th, we're going to be doing teacher postcard reminders to their parents to vote with highlights. We have added, or will be added, there are added, it's just a matter of making them live, and we decided to make them live after our next conversation. FAQs, so the frequently asked questions, those that were generated the first conversation we had, plus things that have trickled in that we've answered, those will all be on that website, and that'll just be a running total. And we'll do newest questions first, and then we'll bump the older questions down. The property tax calculator is all set to go, so people just have to enter in their parcel ID, and I'll spit out the impact. And then it'll have the referendum presentation, so if people can't make a presentation or didn't hear it, they'll be available on our website, and then the sample ballot questions as well. I have included the web page there that it'll be live on, and that'll give that information to our public. So if you're watching out there, please take that down, and you can continue to check back. We'll also advertise it obviously on our page, so it's easy to get to. Any questions about any piece of the report?
I just have a comment mainly for Ryan's benefit. The week of workshop, in particular Monday, the 26th, is when the staff comes back, and typically the board is there, and we greet them as they come back, and then we have breakfast with them, and then whoever can stays for Matt's presentation to the staff.
Sure.
So that's the 26th, and it starts at 7:20 in the high school.
No.
No.
It's at the middle school.
Middle school.
Oh, it is.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Yeah, we're gonna do things a little differently.
Okay.
Change things up a little bit.
That was good
So,
to know.
it's on the schedule,
Down to that.
but I'll be doing less lecturing and more interaction. So we're gonna be doing an activity, we'd love to have, you're gonna all participate separately in a separate type of setting in this activity, but it's gonna be doing a profile learner activity with the entire staff. So I'll do some updates and talk a little bit about the referendum and summer projects and things like that, but I'm gonna quickly shift from me talking to directing and teaching, and we're going to get up and move around, and staff's gonna have a whole bunch of post-it notes and poster paper, and we're gonna try to we did this in our retreat with our admin team, and it worked out really, really well. I think they had a great time. You can ask them.
So we might need to powwow, we might need to divide and conquer, because at the high school, they all pretty much came in the front door, whereas some will be coming in various doors, so we'll have to powwow.
And the other thing that, you know, I'd love to invite you to is, it's been a tradition the last couple of years, the admin team grills for staff, and you're welcome to come to that. We do it down in the field. And last year we had to do it in front of the high school because it was raining, but we'd love to do it all in the field. And we have beanbag toss and different games set up, and just a way to welcome back staff and more of an informal setting and give people a chance to connect. So we'd love to have you, if you're available. Don't feel obligated, but if you're available. Tuesday.
The 27th?
Yes. No. It's Monday, Jeff.
Monday's the?
Yep.
Oh, we flipped that, didn't we?
Yep.
That's right. We never did.
It's Monday the 26th at noon, and it is, like I said, it's in the Stadium Plaza, and if it does rain, it'll be in the Commons.
So you have breakfast that day, everything's that day?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So Delia's all-in-one catering.
show.
So that's Joe Lopez. He is former student, was part of our Summit Academy, the business, marketing and economics. He and his family have a successful business, so we're gonna work with him and cater our breakfast that day with him. They're gonna be well-fed that day.
Super cool.
That is really cool.
And I'm doing my leadership activity and message, and then we'll do our photo, and then what we're doing is trying to model what we do in our buildings with like JWIN. JWIN, Ryan, stands for Just What I Need. So recognizing that different employee groups, different people need different things, and we're just going to do more of a la carte option, so you'll see that there. Like for example, ASAP Kelly Services. Well, we have a number of staff that don't need that. They're well versed in how to request a sub, but there are some people that would love a refresher, and obviously our new staff need that training, so we're not gonna waste everybody's time by having them sit through that, so we're doing more of a differentiated instruction type approach. And we've really tried to start modeling what we want for I want our staff to do with our students, and giving options rather than, you know, this is a one-size-fits-all approach for how you educate kids.
Great.
Okay.
Okay. High school principals report. Come on up, Jeff.
Well, 3 or 4 kind of fun things and different things to share. One of them being that, I guess I'll start, it's always gets asked. We have homecoming planned for September 27th. That's an early release day. We did that last year, and it fit in that same, the schedule works out, and as Joe and I looked at homecoming again, it's either you end up doing it like the first week of the school year, or you wait until mid-October, and so there's some challenges with it, but it's also, it's a day that we just really focus on celebrating through our homecoming. So that's September 27th. Our open house is August 28th, and we're doing some things differently. We have pulled away from through our parent surveys and through conversations with our staff, we're pulling away from the curriculum night, so we're not going to do where parents walk through their students' classes. We're just going to do a legitimate open house so parents can go. So someone like you, Sandy, who has 2 kids, don't have to try to divide and conquer something. You can just walk through and meet all of both child The other thing we did, because we heard how much you guys raved about Ben's idea of having the food trucks and all of that, I don't have them written down here, but we've got Delia's, Troy Mahoney's Pizza, the Smash, sometimes you're on Main Street or on Broadway there, or whatever road that is, 21, somebody else, and we have about 4 or 5 different vendors coming out, so we'll have that. We just try to change that up a little bit and see what that does for our attendance. So that's another thing. One fun thing, last week, Melissa and I and Aaron and Kelly Heyer and Sarah Sievers went to a conference. It's called First Learning. They're a company out of Wisconsin, and they organize different speakers to come in. It was 2 days of professional development. We've really enjoyed this group of people and group of speakers, and it was just really good learning, really good challenging us in multiple different ways, from KLCs to student relationships to special ed. I don't know what else did you have in yours, Melissa?
Just being able to really empower teachers and throwing out questions for them rather than telling them what to do, asking just thought-provoking questions and helping them be problem solvers.
And the activity that Matt is going to do with you guys and with our whole district, I did a similar one to that. That was really good about defining what our learners need to know, and then even actually going to the next step of defining those skills that they need. So not even just saying this is what a learner is, but now how do we teach a student to be empathetic? How do we teach a student to be timely? All those kinds of things.
And that's, not to interrupt, but that's where we're going. It's just when you have a large organization, it takes more time to drive, to get that bus, to that point,
So, and then my other fun fact about that is, so the Garth Larson, we've seen him speak multiple times, he's really good, written a couple books. Rick Wormley, I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Rick Wormley, he's also another kind of leading educator. So anyway, there was about 8 or 9 of these presenters, and after the first day of the conference, I said, oh, where are you guys staying? And they said, oh, we're staying, this was in Monticello. And he said, oh, we're staying in Rogers. And I said, oh, so am I, man. My mom lives there. And I said, well, do you want to come out to Maynard's with us for dinner? So I went to dinner with all this group, and it was a blast. So I sent pictures. Aaron loves Garth Larson, and he loves these speakers, and so she was very jealous. So that was kind of my fun little side note there. Other than that, we're getting ready for back to school and workshops, and been working on our PowerPoints for our staff. All of us are challenged a little bit this year because we're going to spend more time district together, with Erin starting in a new position, and she's going to do a fabulous job, and so she's getting more face time with them, and we're getting a little bit less, which I'm sure the staff will be fine with, but it's a little more challenging for us to really narrow down and focus in on what we have. So that's, and then we have the data team retreat on Thursday that we're looking forward to. So that's the high school. Any questions at all?
One thing I didn't say, but you can see it in Jeff's report, is our theme this year. We've done some theme work the last several years, is wonder, and it's based off of the whole idea of inquiry-based learning. So inquiry-based learning, there's so many different things underneath that umbrella. STEAM is an inquiry-based learning component. Project-based learning. We've focused on different pieces of it rather than the theme, and some of the work that I've done this summer with different professionals is think about more of a broad concept of wonder, which gives people permission to try some of those other pieces. And you don't have to be an expert, for example, project-based learning school, or an expert STEAM school. If you're inquiry-based, you can take different avenues. So that's really, that tied with that whole profile learner activity, I think that we're gonna find that our staff also understands and agrees the shift in educational philosophy and how that needs to happen, as we go forward.
Is there a different day for pitchers, rather than August 28th at that open house for those students that can't go because of sports?
Retakes.
We talked with some of our soccer folks. We were going to work with Dan Zoller and Solid Photography to see what we could do to get them pictures sooner than the makeup date.
Okay.
We haven't talked to Zoller yet, but possibly with team photos for soccer, doing school closed that same day if possible, since it's the same outfit.
Okay.
Other questions? Thank you. Middle school, Ben.
All right, so I was not at the First Institute. We had a team go to PBIS conference. We're part of the cohort 15. So PBIS has been around for 15 years, and we were part of cohort, I think it was 6 or 7 initially, and then just needing a reboot and a rebrand. So have a really strong team that we're excited about. So we spent 2 days with that PBIS training and really some good ideas about how to connect with the community and get the community involved. So PBIS isn't just this kind of thing we do on the side. So we're discussing different ways that we'll bring that into one of the ideas that Jeff actually had of having kind of an ECFE model to engage parents at the middle school, because our ECFE does a great job of equipping parents early in life for their kids, but then as they go through middle school, there's new challenges. When they go through high school, there's new challenges. So just giving some resources and some different ideas and using that model alongside of the PBIS. So that will be coming. A couple of things, our mailing will be going out here tomorrow, hopefully. Schedules for the middle school will go live on August 19th. So if you're asked about that, the reason why we don't send out our schedules is because Chelsea is constantly balancing. Last year, we had a huge influx of kids between the middle of August and September 1st. So if we would have printed schedules, sent those out, we would have had an imbalance in class. Then we'd have to shift things, and everyone wants balanced classes, but no one wants their kids' schedules. So their schedules.
So question on that, does it make sense then to hold back on releasing elementary school and high school schedules just for a consistency standpoint, like waiting to whatever the time period is, but just so that it's in multi-kid households where one of them, for example, might say, hey, who are my teachers?
Well, that happened at my house. So I opened the mailbox. We got back from Texas last night. I opened the mailbox. I went, no, yours didn't come yet. So, and there's no reason why. But yeah, so I think that's something.
We do generally, I mean, we talked about it, not so much, I know that Ben and I talked about it, most of I don't touch base too much on it. But I know Ben and I talked, and we try to go within a day of each other.
Yeah, well, because I'm just, probably just for the lay family, they don't know the intricacies of some of the different things that the three of you are kind of working on.
And
It's just a matter of just, hey, why did this get lost in the mail? What's that whole piece?
Sometimes it's hard too, like last year, I know mine went out late because we had an added section late. So rather than sending out letters and then having to say, oh no, that's not your teacher, we waited because we knew we were gonna add another section of kindergarten. So I think what's hard is that sometimes that happens in one year at the elementary school and the next year it might happen at the middle school. That's the only thing that I would see that would be hard, especially at the elementary level. It's if we send it out earlier and all of a sudden our enrollment increases and then we have to add a section, then I'm making phone calls to 24 parents to say, oh, by the way, you're not having that teacher that you just got a letter on.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, is it kind of the opposite, where even if one of the schools is ready to go, do you hold off until everyone's ready and then you send them all out at the same time? Just to get kind of that consistency.
And you publicize it.
Yeah.
You publicize
Though
it because
though I'm sure that there's more complexity to it,
Yeah.
just a thought.
Because I swear June 1st, the Jordan Mama's page starts saying, who's your teacher's kid?
Yeah.
I went to an establishment in Shopkeeper.
It exploded on Saturday.
And I went to the counter and I was asked, when are the letters coming out? I was
Yeah.
like, huh.
Yeah, it exploded
So-
on Saturday.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. But that's a good point, Rob.
Yeah.
Just to
think so.
kind of give you a heads up on our open house jumpstart, for fifth grade, we'll have a little bit different feel this year. This is that transition program, so Webb, our eighth grade mentors, they'll be leading that. So it's from 8 until noon on August 23rd, and then kids will go home. So the 22nd. I keep saying the 23rd. I said that earlier. It's the 22nd. New teacher workshop is the 23rd. And then the open house that following Thursday, that is the 29th. And we'll use a similar format to last year, so the food trucks and the DJ. One of the pieces that we heard from families is that they wanted a chance to connect with their teacher. So there will be some time where people will be able to connect with their advisory teacher, walk through schedules so that people will be in the pod. It won't be a structured curriculum time, but it'll be a time for people to go in and connect with their teachers and get to know them. There is a cross-country meet that night. We did move Joe was able to work out moving the middle school football game, so that's not that night. But the cross-country meet was already set, ready to go. So
And it
we'll
always
talk
is.
about that.
It's always that day.
So, kids that need pictures, Zollers has, it's the photography company, they've been fantastic to work out another plan for those kids. And then we are going from 3 until 6:30, and we're intentionally being done at 6:30 so that families can get over to the football game if they choose to do that. So we moved our start time up of our open house to be able to accommodate. So we were intentionally planning to see how it would work, doing it before the football game. Parking is gonna be interesting.
Good.
But.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've got some
Bring it on.
transport as well. Any other questions?
Thank you, Ben. Melissa?
Right, so, like Jeff and Ben, there's been a lot of time this summer for reflection. It's exciting to have Erin on board, Sarah Miller, Rose Gilbranson as instructional coaches. I know I've had a chance to pick their brains. Sarah and I are meeting tomorrow to be able to just look at what it is that we've done in the past and getting that teacher lens as far as what is it that teachers need more support with, and being able to talk to Sarah about the successes that she's had in the classroom and what that means for our teaching staff. So I'm excited for that. And a lot of this will kind of come together more so in workshop week. I really took it to heart, like when Jeff was talking about that first institute, there was a session that a superintendent from California presented on that at first I'm like, oh my gosh, my head's exploding, because it was such an outside the box way of thinking, of being able to, as a leader, to really empower your staff and really encourage them to be the leaders. So I've been really taking that to heart and doing some more reflection on what that will look like for this upcoming school year, and just really tapping into the talents of our staff. Everything else on here is pretty much self-explanatory, you know, as far as what has been happening. We're excited for our second year of Kickstart. We took some parent feedback from last year's programming and incorporated back-to-school conferences for kindergarten this year, which we didn't have last year. We had more of an open house format, and honestly, parents didn't want to be listening to me. They really wanted to talk to their teachers. So that has changed this year, so that will be on Thursday and Friday when our first through fourth grade students are in school. Those back-to-school conferences will be happening for our kindergarten families, and it will be a similar format. It's going to be a quicker turnaround because Kickstart will happen on Tuesday and Wednesday. The kindergarten teachers will work on Thursday morning to put together lists, actually Wednesday after school, sorry. And then we'll put a blast out Wednesday to families. Here's your teacher, here's the link to sign up for back-to-school conferences. So parents know that that's coming, but the fact of being able to give them that information and in quick short notices will be our first attempt. So I'll be working with Kat on what that will look like and getting that out. And part of it is being able to honor the intent of our Kickstart program to really get to know our kids. But then that means that we have to be able to then, you know, honor that process, but then let families know who their child's teacher is, so they can schedule that conference. So we'll kindergarten teachers they've met twice this summer to meet, and they're very excited. They're really looking forward to just restructuring a couple of things and taking that feedback and making things even better. Any questions?
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
Aaron's report, anything on that? Any questions or comments? Nope.
What's the Edu Climber concept she's referring to?
Edge Climber is our data warehouse.
In terms of, I guess I'm kind of more interested in kind of the progression scale. I don't know how, like, so is this just kind of a very kind of specific for just kind of being able to kind of tap into that kind of knowledge resource management tool, or is this kind of something that is going to be kind of applied in other settings, or just kind of curious how she's thinking of rolling that out?
Yep, so the kickoff really will be, actually it happened already. They've done some work this summer. As we had this tool last year, we just didn't use it.
Oh, so this was in place, it's just, we're gonna, okay, got it.
We bought the tool last year, it was being populated. This really is the first year that we're gonna use it. So there's been some training this summer, but our data retreat next week, our data retreat will really kick it off. And then I know Aaron's focus is using that tool constantly with our staff and getting them used to using that to really kind of drive that individualized education for each child. So we know where, and that's what it's supposed to be. It loads data from any standardized test that we take from elementary age all the way through high school, and also can load a variety of other pieces of data as well. So it should provide us with a better picture of what we need to do, what type of prescription, education prescription that we need to provide to those different levels of students. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so is this gonna then be kind of a way to kind of inform progress and then influence grade, or is it gonna be kind of a to be determined?
It's more about trying to determine where kids need additional instruction and getting them putting the tools in place necessary to help them improve their achievement levels.
Cool, thank you.
I mean, data has existed. A good way to house that data has not. We had a previous data warehouse that we, quite frankly, wasn't user-friendly. We weren't using it. So last year we scrapped it and we researched and found this one that other districts have found some success with. So that's what we're doing, putting it in place.
Very cool.
Connie?
Could I ask that her satisfaction and engagement one was to get new people on the curriculum committee? Could I recommend that we have her invite the candidates for the school board that were not selected?
Sure.
Because historically, those people have been really involved from, our previous.
From the last go-around,
and, that way they would get engaged and know what was going on if they would so choose to run as a future board member.
Yeah.
That's a really good idea, Connie.
Awesome idea.
Thanks.
Okay, anything else? Okay. Mr. Perkle.
Hello. Welcome, new board member Maddox. Welcome to meet you. Aloha to the big building. Welcome back. I ran away from the PAC meeting. I do not have.
Mahalo.
We just had the PAC meeting this evening, so just got off stage over there. We had our postseason meetings, or post meetings with our different sports groups, and we are ready to go. We had our first day of fall sports today. Good day for it, a little cloudy, nice and cool, a little humid, but it was a good day, and knock on wood, very light day for our training. So we are off and running. This will be, and I said it at our PAC meeting, this will be kind of our farewell tour to the Minnesota River Conference. After 60 years in the conference, this will be our final season competing. And one of the emphasis of the meeting was to say, let's leave on a good note. Let's make those schools think highly of Jordan. Let's clean up the stands, let's clean up the benches, clean up the language. Let's be good conference opponents this final year in the conference. So very excited for us to go to the Wright County Conference. We don't need to dive into that any further. But kind of a fun year for us. I'm hosting a few of the MRC AD meetings. They're going to be bummed that we aren't going to be at the Ridges anymore for those meetings after this year. And we are hosting the MRC All Coaches Social September 4th in the Jordan Commons, which is fun. Will be 2 out of the 3 years here we've hosted it, and our coaches like it because they don't have to travel one more night and we can host it right here. So fun night there we've got planned. We're actually going to have Lindsay's barbecue cater it. Usually we have a chef from out of town or Arlington, I believe, do all of the MRC ones, but figured we'd go with the local outfit to give it a try. What else do we have going? We have parent athlete coach meeting, talk about that. Just something to keep on the horizon as we talk corporate cooperative sponsorship. Sorry, it's been a long day. I've been here since 6:45. I haven't left campus. Haven't eaten since 11. So I apologize. Cooperative sponsorships. We right now currently obviously have Scott West Wrestling. That's our big one. We also have swim and dive and gymnastics with Prior Lake. In my 2+ years now, we have not had anyone sign up for that. I've done hopefully a better job of promoting that this year. Still have not had anyone yet this fall sign up for girls swim, which would be the only fall cooperative. But we have been actively searching sponsorships for hockey, lacrosse, possibly skiing. And with that, we're going to have more travel. We're going to have our students either getting in cars and traveling, or we're going to need to look at providing transportation, at least a one-way drop. So right now, it's not something that was urgent for this meeting, but I think it's something that I will work with Superintendent Helgerson on to come up with a plan on how do we transport our kids when they start going to these off-sites for practices, for games. As a district, are we providing that transportation, or is the expectation that's on the student if they join our cooperative sponsorship? So just something to look at on the horizon. I believe I missed it, but the coach's handbook, which has been working on for a while, actually had a chance. It's Prior Lake, I give a shout out to Russ Reitz. It's something he sent out to us ADs using a online electronic handbook so coaches can access it at all times. I've been working on one. My predecessor had been working on one. I finally got a chance to this summer, because I couldn't move, sit down and actually finally put it together, and hopefully that went okay. And if there's any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer that as well.
Questions? Mr. Purple?
So the August workshop will discuss some of those cooperative sponsorship opportunities, because there are some concessions that we all have to make that you need to be aware of, and you need to give us the thumbs up or the thumbs down on. And Mr. Purple and I met already with probably the most likely partner, and then he met without me, and we hadn't had a chance to debrief on that last meeting.
Our goal is to obviously we have to keep Title IX in mind. If we're going to co-op in boys sport, we have to probably do that in girls sport. So that's sort of some of our hang-ups, is trying to find a good fit, because we hate to co-op with this school of boys and this school of girls, and we'd really like to keep the uniform. Unfortunately, the well is dry with the Prior Lakes and the Shockbees of the world, because the South Suburban Conference has basically said we're not going to approve any more sponsorships. We're all huge schools. We don't need a co-op. So.
Joe, can you explain that on camera? Because there's a lot of misunderstanding out there about that.
Sure. Well, we can't just say, hey, we don't have an ice arena in town. We'd love to come to Shakopee and play. Well, it's got to be a mutual decision. It's got to be good for both schools. And when Shakopee's cutting kids, they're absolutely not going to take on another school to cut their kids, more of their kids, to add Jordan students. So it's really tough, geographically where we're at. The obvious choices would be the Prior Lakes of the world and the Shakopees of the world, but that's not a possibility. We've looked at going down into the River Valley Bulldogs, and we've asked New Prague. So, people are like, well, why can't we get this done? It's not as easy as just going to someone and saying, hey, take this on. Hockey is still, it's the state hockey. So these schools that have hockey programs, well-established programs, they're not really interested in taking on another school unless their program's dying. Right now, we're not seeing that in hockey, the sport of hockey. We have seen some girls hockey programs co-op and join together, even Bloomington's are now together, the Chanchaskas are still together. But they're doing fine, they're not interested in adding a third team in Jordan. The other issue comes into play with our enrollment going up is when you add Jordan, if you're in single A hockey, you're gonna be bumped up to double A by adding a school like of our size. Even though we may only provide 1 or 2 students, the MSHSL doesn't care about that, they care about your enrollment numbers. So, having a hard time finding that sponsor, we are working on it. We sent out a survey this summer, just to see the interest, and it's there. There's interest whether, it's, when the rubber meets the road, if they'll actually sign up and go, but there is interest in hockey and lacrosse, and Nordic ski we're still looking at, so there is interest, it's just finding the right home for it. Obviously we can't have a standalone hockey program, but, we're still exploring lacrosse and skiing.
If I could just add, I've had a couple of parents actually say, well, with the swimming, you mentioned swimming, why can't we just transfer our sponsorship to New Prague? Again, it goes back to what Joe said. They have to want us, and they don't. That's just quite frank.
If we didn't have a home right now for swimming, and we went to Prior Lake, it would be an easy no. It wouldn't be able to be done. So we've had this long-standing, and I really appreciate it. I keep telling them every time we renew that contract, thank you. I know we haven't sent you kids, but we may send you kids. We love the opportunity, and hopefully we start seeing more of that. Promoting it at our PAC meetings, promoting it, through social media. Hopefully we get some bites out there from some of our younger families who participate in those activities, then we keep them in Jordan.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything to add? Gone, anything?
Heimat Fest is coming up, and Community Ed plays a huge role in Heimat Fest, so obviously you saw a number of run-of-the-mill sponsorships tonight. There's a number of races that are going on with that, and I know that he's excited to meet with, and not meet with, but has been meeting with, but to develop a partnership with our Senior Citizen Club, and they're going to be doing some free discussions and things like that, so different topics. I know that I'm speaking to that group as part of the referendum this fall as one of their topics. Sort of the highlights there. The catalog should be making its appearance very soon if it hasn't already in some of your households.
What are the preschool numbers, do you know? I saw they opened up
about the same
Tuesday, Wednesday,
as what
Thursday
they've been.
class.
Yeah.
Was that due to offering more space because something was full, or?
I haven't had a chance
Okay.
to find out.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay. Okey dokey, communications, Kat's been busy. Anything you wanna highlight there?
Just so you're aware, obviously, with this particular area, we're all about image, and we added banners a couple of years ago, or the light pole banners. A number of them are getting, a number of them have ripped or whatever. They're all ordered, and they will be up before the first day of school. We're also putting signage on vehicles and our new logos and things like that. That's all part of that process. This is a busy job. It's one of those that when we first started off, we were sort of the pioneers of the schools this size. Now everybody has these people, and the amount of work it's just tremendous. I think what gets lost is when you want things to look uniform, and we've talked about that on a number of things tonight. Well, communications and marketing is no different, and it's really hard to coordinate, a school district even this size to make sure that everything looks uniform. So there's discussions that Kat and I are starting to have about how do we build some templates that staff can just self-populate so she doesn't have to do it all, because especially with this referendum, she is going to be one of the main cogs in developing some of this, and she's going to need to free up some of her time. So that whole brochure, that takes weeks of coordination and formatting and things like that. So she's been busy.
Okay. Andrea's Nutrition Services report. I saw that her whole staff's going down to Winona for training.
Yep, so we've hosted that we've hosted that in the past, and it's a similar, training that's being hosted elsewhere, obviously, this year. And then the, free and reduced lunch forms were out in the mail, and that goes to everybody. It's also on our website, but every household gets a copy. It really just on camera, it's a benefit, even if you don't think you'd qualify or you're borderline, please fill out the forms, get them turned in, because it does affect us in different ways too, funding ways. Our title funding, is based off of free and reduced numbers. Joe just spoke about our athletic numbers. We jumped up a class, you know, and you look at like a school like Waseca, they have a higher enrollment than we do, but they have higher free and reduced numbers than we do. So they're actually down a class, even though they have a higher enrollment. And it's not just them, that's just an example. So it does help us in a variety of different ways, and it's a program that's out there to make sure our children are get the proper nutrition so they can do well in school and have a healthy life. So we hope that people will take time to fill out those forms. And just a reminder, if you've qualified, this happens every year, if you've qualified in the past, you have to fill out the paperwork again, because on October 1st? 14th?
And it is online as well for the first time. through the
Perfect,
portal.
I saw that, I read it. On October 14th, it will cease to exist, so benefits from last year run through that date. But if people don't refill, then they start accumulating debt because we have to charge them for lunch. So it's important that people fill that out annually.
Do we do targeted messaging for people who were part of the program last year, just as an added reminder?
Last year, I think I did send one out for anyone whose benefits were going to expire that hadn't reapplied.
Probably a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important.
Okay, special services, Chad's report.
I just had a question. He has the date of the next APAC meeting is Monday, August 20th, and Monday is August 19th, and Tuesday is August 20th, and I have it as Tuesday. So I just wanted to clarify, Matt, I don't know if you, I just want to double check and make sure that it's.
I'll have to check with them tomorrow.
I have it on my calendar as Tuesday the 20th.
You do? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
At 11. We did adjust the time.
At 11?
Yes.
Oh. Oh,
Yep, that's correct. I have that populated on my calendar too.
okay, that works.
Can you go to that, Sandy? Okay. Okay. Stephen's Technology Director's report, I saw that he could use some help distributing devices on, I don't remember what days it was, Thursday and Friday. Pardon?
21st and 22nd.
Okay. So if you want to, we can spare an hour or two to help with device distribution, Stephen would greatly appreciate it.
There's the times there, 4 to 8 on the 21st, and then noon to 8 on the 22nd.
Okay.
He's really excited about the printing too. We did decrease the amount of copies that were made last year. We were the brunt of a lot of staff jokes, but it did save on copying costs.
Good.
Save some trees too.
I saw that.
Okay, facilities, Tim's report.
I know I duplicated some pieces there in mine. Choir risers, that wasn't on my report. And then the walk-off carpet in the activity entrance, it used to have the big JHS, where the letters are like chipping out of there. So now we're just replacing it with just a pretty standard mold and mildew resistant walk-off carpet mat. It's too expensive to do that, you know.
Which building is that in?
The high school.
High school, okay.
When you come in the activity entrance up, there's that, it's a JHS in there. We got rid of the one that was in the main entry last year, and we did that walk-off carpet, so it would be the same.
Okay.
I mean, it looked nice when it was brand new, but it's not worth spending the money to do that. Kids Company's back at the elementary. Huge thank you to the Kids Company staff and also our custodians for helping to facilitate that move. It helps so many different, it helps our elementary get ready as the oldest building. It takes more time, more resources to get that ready, and we can transition those students back and get this building ready. So, and then another cooperative project with the city. 2 years ago, we worked together and we bought a water cannon, so that's actually coming back over to our school, and we're gonna put that on our soccer field, practice soccer field up behind the elementary school. It's not irrigated, so the water cannon it's just a giant sprinkler. It walks. Oh, and then finally, you'll notice on the tennis courts, there was a board added for hitting, a hitting board that the tennis coaches wanted. And then a pad, cement pad that we had poured there, and they're gonna build a storage / little tennis concession shed there. There's a number of
cool.
parents that are
That's cool.
gonna do that.
Good. Okay, any questions? Okay, school board member reports. Booster Club? Way back.
I went there.
Okay.
Kind of met everybody, all the discussion about gambling, who wants to manage it, the work that's involved with that. That's about it.
Okay. Policy committee? Well, Sandy and I were there, we had some long days.
Oh, boy.
Long meetings.
Yeah, the first one, the July 22nd one, was mainly a lot of things that were kind of easy ones that, you know, that just needed a few updates and that kind of stuff, so we tried to get through as many as possible, because the one that we did on August 1st was the really tough one, and I don't know that, I mean, we're still kind of in process with that, so the one on clubs.
Mhm.
So we talked about the resolution tonight, where we're putting kind of a hold on that because we're evaluating everything. I think we kind of came to a consensus, but I think we still are, I don't know, Matt, if you want to speak to that or not, or Deb.
I think we just wanna finalize it as that
Yeah.
committee.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, I know that while I was
We're
on
caught
that,
up.
I was just gonna ask,
Huh.
how can you guys tell when you're like, when you have a lull or when you have, cause I don't know, I guess I was
Never a lull.
expecting to see a spreadsheet with a list of all the policies and then the date, so you
Do want
knew.
it?
Huh?
I can
Oh,
send
pass
it.
it.
Do you have one?
Of course I do.
I just wanna see it. Cause
Well,
I
and
just,
that-
you guys just seem like, and I remember when I was, I'm gonna be thankful that I'm not on that committee right now. Eventually I might make my way back on there, but that committee is labor intensive, a lot of work, takes a lot of commitment between a board member, the teaching staff, and it's really, or not the teaching staff, or the administration. And it's a lot of work done by Hope and the administrators and the administration for them to guide us and give us that information that it would be, I don't know, I feel like it's like you're doing this, you never caught up.
Yeah, well.
Well, you aren't, because, you know, some of
Yes,
them have to be
every
done
year
every
you have
year
to
by.
do-
And we
by
Right,
are
but
caught
those
up, but I
are-
think the latest updates haven't come through, because
Right.
Terry was
Right.
saying that at the summer
Leadership,
seminar.
Well,
Yeah, but those are pretty much okay, easy peasy, onesie twosies, where you're just looking at a little bit of language, you're taking the MSP recommendations, but it's the stuff that you guys are really digging in and working on, like the new clubs one that we
Yeah,
just
that
kind
one's-
of, or activities and stuff,
Yeah.
so that committee is a lot of work.
Well, and then there's the updates that need to be done because of changing legislation.
Mhm.
You know,
Right.
So Hope does a great job of
gosh,
monitoring
yeah.
this for us.
Exactly, it's a lot of work for her too, I mean, so I
Yes.
mean, that's one committee that,
Yeah, that's good.
I don't know.
So
Give you guys a lot of credit, I'm glad I'm not on it right
I
now,
would-
I may
I
go
would-
back, but not right now.
in September and October, maybe November, there'll be a ton of policies on here because we've gotten through
Yeah.
many, but it takes time, and right now is our busy season. Hope's
Yeah.
super busy entering registrations and things like that, so it takes time to make those edits, but eventually you'll see a flood of policies on there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's gonna be 1,000-page, agenda, guys, just prepping you for it.
But one thing I think you do on the board pack is do a red line version of the changes, so you
Yep.
can see
Make,
which
makes
ones
it
were.
good, yeah. And then when you get through them, then you get to start all over again.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Okay, Education Foundation, Connie and I were there. Connie, you wanna jump in?
I was at two of them, actually. I was at the fundraising one. I'm on that committee. So, basically that one, we decided that we would do, a foundation. This goes for both of them, but it carries on to the second one. We decided we would do, the pass the bucket at one football game and one wrestling match. And those were two of Jiv's favorite sports. And figured that it would just be like the tackle cancer. They'll just have the cheerleaders or whatever pass it. And that seemed like something that was pretty easy. We were at that point, our paperwork had came back and we didn't qualify, or there was a delineation of a time on our
501c3.
I think you guys got it. Did you guys?
Yeah,
We did get it,
Yeah,
but
okay, good.
we had, there was a time change that didn't match. And so the IRS came back, and then we couldn't find our formal document that was placed, so they had to file another one, and it all came together now. So we did talk, in the fundraising thing, we talked about being present at the alumni basketball tournament, and doing some real good marketing flyers, and then doing some things that actually use Jiv's voice. Because there is a voiceover, and doing something at different things that would be his voice. And he is the voice of the foundation since he gave us our starting funds. We had a lot of talk about scholarship at that meeting, where we fit with Dollars for Scholars and whatever. And so that was the fundraising part of it. And then, I know, Deb, you can talk about that.
Yeah, with marketing fundraising, they're gonna present to the teachers on August 26th and encourage teachers to contribute to the foundation. And they're gonna have tables up on the 28th and 29th at the middle school and high school at all the open houses. The Wasika game, football game, is when they're gonna pass the hat. At the alumni, December 28th basketball game, they're gonna market their, solicit funds.
That's an awesome event.
Mhm.
I mean, that event is so fun.
Yeah. They did, at the last meeting, they did vote to grant 4 scholarships, 2 to the elementary, 1 to the high school, and 1 to the middle school. One of them did get rejected. They have, yeah, it sounds like it. They have very, very good guidelines, for determining who's gonna get the grants. And the one grant they felt did not fit the criteria.
It was something that we as a district should be supplying, or
Right,
should be
yeah.
supplying to as the staff identified it as a need. And that committee said that the district should be supplying that, it shouldn't come from a grant. So
Mhm.
they were pretty excited, and it sounded like it was very professionally done. They got the grant applications blacked out, so no one could identify who was, getting the grant, whatever. So it was, they did their due diligence.
And they're
really
gonna make a big
professionally.
deal about presenting them.
Big check,
Yeah.
they'll
I
get
can't
it.
remember when they said they were gonna do that.
I can't remember either.
Yeah.
It's on workshop week. I think.
Workshop week, okay, yeah.
Give it a
So they're a great group of go-getters.
They're working at possibly working with Ballard Wagner and getting foundation envelopes at funerals and whatever, that you would be able to make a donation that way. And really thought about promoting things to do. If you don't know what to give somebody, donate to the education fund in their name or whatever and stuff. So just trying to get the word out, and hopefully that'll get out. For a small group of people, they're on fire. So they're good
Very
workers.
organized,
Yep.
super talented group of
Yep.
people.
There is, just real quick, there is a check and balance too. So if one of our staff, teaching staff members puts in, and it's not just teaching staff, we had paraprofessional get a grant to do some artwork that will hang at the high school and involve kids. But our admin need to sign off on it. And if it's something that we won't sustain, like we have some things, the one particular that I caught as it was coming across my desk, and I sent it back and said, we got rid of a similar program 2 years ago. There was a reason for it. We're not bringing this back. And our principals communicated with that staff member, and it was very understanding. But that we're not going to just. And Ed Foundation is working. They put that piece in because they don't want to purchase something that the district won't sustain long term.
I think that's good. I think kind of going forward, and again, this is kind of that work in progress, but it's as kind of these different organizations start to grow, what is kind of the identity of each one? So what is the mission of the education fund? And what are we trying to do? And I'm sure that's, kind of just being able to support the ability for kids to be able to have the best educational experience possible. And then kind of vice versa with the Booster Club and with activities and athletics. What's the mission there? And the mission there is that there's a role for extracurricular activities, and if you participate in extracurricular activities, you will be a better individual and better student. And there's all these kind of like different kind of parallel pieces. But I think that as there's continuing kind of growth and excitement and opportunities of giving, that we have kind of a clear messaging of what holistically what is this all about, just so again that we're not creating confusion kind of within the community of everyone kind of coming in and saying, give to this, give to this, give to this, give to this. And so that's just probably something that we'll want to continue to be mindful of, but it's all super great. So it's great energy and all going to a great cause.
So they do have a page. I can send this out too. Here's the link to the different page, and that has different tabs with what was established as their mission and vision. But I think there were some replies that was sent out. There's a number of cross committee members between the Booster Club and the Education Foundation. So when the Ed Foundation sent out their news that they got their 501c3, a number of Booster Club folks replied saying, great, can't wait to collaborate and work hard for the district. So I think that's probably a good next step, is get those organizations together.
Okay. Negotiations.
We had negotiations at the first level. It's kind of high level. Just kind of talked about where we stand as a district in the very beginning and where we budgeted for, set down some groundwork and some rules. They gave us some kind of basic idea of what their priorities were a little bit, and emailed us out their first proposal, and then we meet next Monday with them for the second time.
Which, is this the teacher?
Teachers.
Why do I feel like we just did that?
We did.
Okay.
Because that one took a long time, the last one took a long time.
Yeah, so I don't think you settled till January last time, so it's 18 months.
Right, yeah. Well, and
This
then
is
we
when we
worked on
start.
ULA language
ULA
continually
language last
since
year.
then, so that's still not resolved, so.
Yeah, so
But
that'll
it
be
was
something
very
that we'll-
congenial.
Yeah,
It was very, very,
good.
I think it's gonna be a good round of
Yeah, it was
negotiations.
good.
Ryan got broken in, so.
Is it
Yeah.
new people?
New people.
Some new people,
Some new
some-
from the
some-
district,
All
yes,
but one.
from the staff, yes.
All but one is new.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So what's our goal to be done with them, that group by? Like, what's our drop dead date, like?
That was part of the discussion we had. Are we better off settling before the referendum, or are we better off waiting until after? And it can go either way. I mean, if you settle before, people are gonna, they could say, well, I'm not gonna vote for that because it's just all gonna go to pay the teachers' increases. So, I mean, it's a wash either way, you know. So we did have a good discussion about that, and we really didn't come to any resolve.
I think it really depends on the next couple meetings whether we make any progress on their initial request. And if we can't make significant progress, then we'll probably as a district say, you know, we're going to wait.
Okay. APAC, did you meet?
Yep, we did. Thursday, July 25th, so it's been a while. Basically, most of the meeting was really going over last year's budget for, you know, in terms of finalizing all of that. And then we're starting to work towards next year's budget. So unfortunately, once you get past 20 students who have American Indian background, you don't get as much per student. So they increase. There's a lot more students that we've identified, but we don't get necessarily as much funding to, you know, there's only so much funding. So, but we're looking at that, and I think that's going to probably, do we approve that, Matt, the budget for the APAC? I don't think
I was not at that meeting.
Okay, I feel like, but have we approved it in the past? I feel like we have.
Yes.
So I would assume.
You mean the board?
Yes.
Yes.
I feel like it's due in October, so I would assume that it's going to come before us. We have another meeting, I think it's Tuesday, August 20th. And so I think we'll be working on it, and I think that we'll be finishing up then in September, and then hopefully that will come to the board before that is due. Basically, I mean, that's really, we've talked about the CRT training that they did for the teachers. That kind of was really last minute, but it sounds like it was really well received. They did a staff development, and they also had they had the sous chef cater, so the staff got to experience that, which I think was a really awesome thing to do. We talked a lot about the tutoring and the student support and how that needs to get going a lot quicker this year, because you know, if we don't start it until February, then you know it's really not as helpful to the kids. So getting that data sooner and getting those kids identified. So let's see, pretty much that was, you know, just discussing what can be reimbursed, setting some policy for if people can be reimbursed for ACT test prep, that kind of thing. So, and that was pretty much it. And then, so I think this one will be real heavy on the 19-20 budget. So we were finishing up the 18-19 budget for this last meeting. This meeting, I think we're going to be focusing on the 19-20. I don't have the agenda yet, but that's my assumption.
Can they get reimbursed for ACT credit?
Native American students can, yes. So that is something that can be covered because it is something to help students be successful. It's under, there are 5 goal areas for their plan, and one of them is career and college readiness. And so there's a couple that focus kind of on that. And so that's helping, you know, if that's a stumbling block, because ACT test prep, you haven't experienced this yet, is really, really expensive. So, I mean, the minimum that you're going to find is $40 an hour. And that's out of a lot of people's range. And so if this will help kids be successful, then I don't think we set a limit as to how much could be reimbursed, because you can spend a lot of money on ACT prep. So, but yes, I think we decided on a limit, and I don't remember what the limit was, but it was somewhere like a $500 or $600 range. So.
Good, thank you. Scale?
Ryan and I went to Scale. We met at the regional training facility here in Jordan. That was kind of a different thing from meeting at Prior Lake City Hall. And kind of just went over what Mike Breeze did a presentation on kind of what they do out at the regional training facility, the amount of money that it saves our county overall. I mean, it's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, pushing $1 million a year with the joint efforts of our county versus what a lot of other counties and cities do. And Matt and I have seen these figures before, but it's pretty impressive. So just talking about the stuff that they do, they're the only outdoor range of 200 yards south of Camp Ripley in the state of Minnesota.
Wow.
I mean, some of the stuff they do, they have from all over the country, people come to train at this thing. So it was pretty cool to see some of their numbers. Our contributions, I want to say just under $500,000 a year from the total contributions from the whole county has remained the same for the last 10 years or something like that. It's never gone up. It was pretty interesting how efficient they are and effective. So it was fun. It was a good meeting.
really cool resources too. I mean, we were talking afterwards, it'd be so cool to figure out a way to utilize some of them within the district, just the trading facilities.
Track does some
They
training on
mentioned
that.
that.
They mentioned Jordan's trap team because they've got the virtual simulator in there, and that was one of the things they talked about, so it was.
Hunter safety, firearm safety.
One on the fire training they do. you know,
Yeah.
Fire departments, I know,
Yeah.
when we come home sometimes, we come home at
Yeah.
midnight and
That's,
there'll be 50 fire trucks in
Yeah.
there with lights flashing, and they're doing simulation training in that building. Along that same line, something to keep an eye on is, there's talk of possibly making that a homeless shelter.
Yeah.
I had a very in-depth conversation today with the chief, and he said it would be very detrimental to scale. Because they would have to, for one thing, all the guns that they have and the action and that stuff. Yeah. So there's a lot of other things to it. Anyway, okay. Board reports. Sandy and I attended summer seminar. It was great. We had a great speaker on Monday night. Bukata Hayes spoke on identifying racial biases that we all have. It was a great insights, kind of trying to overcome biases that we have. And the conference itself, the next day, we had a legislative update by Denise Dietrich and Kim Lewis. If anybody wants to look through this, this year will be a policy year. Last year was funding, so there's a lot of good information on here about policy legislation that will be
I have one as well.
in the works. So if anybody wants to share that, they certainly can. Jolly Corley was our keynote speaker who talked on bold leadership in action. Great speaker. She did a great job. Terry Morrow, our MSBA, he's our legal guy, gave case law updates. Talked quite a bit about the Cruz Guzman case, which is in mediation right now. Then some area schools that got some special awards gave presentations. And it was ironic because both of them had drones were part of the whole presentation thing, so that was pretty cool. Then we had networking breakouts, and the state demographer spoke, and that was very eye-opening.
I had to leave in the middle of that, so.
Yeah. Very eye-opening with what's ahead in the future with the change in dynamics with the aging population versus, the younger, and just the whole racial makeup of the state, how it's gonna be changing, so. And then Sandy had to leave, but Carol Levin did a full-length movie on the Minneapolis Lucy Laney Elementary School, who was one of the 5% lowest schools on the No Child Left Behind, high minority school, and they did a full-fledged movie on the school and the impact that the staff made on those kids. The name of the movie is Love Them First. It'll be coming out actually in the middle of September, and I'm telling you, it was a tearjerker. Holy cow. We got to see the whole movie, and then it was neat because the principal that was the focus of the story, along with some of the kids that she dealt with, that day got got moved to one of the high schools to do the same kind of program in the Minneapolis School District, and the assistant principal got moved up to principal, and she came to the showing, and we had a forum with her after. Oh my gosh, it was, if you get a chance to see it, have you seen it? Yeah, powerful. Okay, that's it.
I don't know if Matt had talked to Mayor Velishik yet, but we were invited to attend the fish meeting with the city. And I'm gonna get details on that, and I'll email that out, because I wrote it down, but I left it in my car. I'm not going out there to go grab it.
No.
But yeah, the fish meeting, and I think that was next week. I think it's the 20th or something like that, but they have fish come down, and then they're coordinating some efforts with the city. This weekend is the Shakopee, Mdewakanton, and Sioux Communities Wachipi. That is free to anyone that is wanting to attend. And then please make sure that you are not hoping for rain, because then it comes into our facility. And it's better outside, let's just put it that way. It's a better experienced outdoors.
And if you have not been to it, it is
It is
amazing.
phenomenal.
It
And it's
is-
free this year, so
It is truly an
yeah,
experience.
it's awesome. When it's outside.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Let's see, I'm trying to think, I know that, track and field had a really good camp for the kids, so that was well attended, so I know the last day was a little bit iffy in terms of the weather. We've had a really interesting summer with weather. And then, we did I know that, I helped out with we had a speech camp for kids, so that was over 3 Tuesday nights, and getting ready for the speech season, because we are moving up a class, and that will be a tougher competition. So kids there's about 19 kids, I believe, who signed up for that and tried to get a head start on the season and trying to help things out and move things forward. So that's about all I have.
Connie?
I had a chance to visit a lot with the robotics team at the Scott County Fair, and they are some dynamically awesome, driven kids. And it was really fun to watch them and the Prairie Lake kids work together, because they really, they're all wired the same way, you know, and stuff. And they're really engaging. I have a younger grandson that's in 3rd grade, and he knows Aaron by name, and Aaron remembers him, and he says, "Dude, remember, you're going to be on the robotics team." And he goes, "Yep." I think he thinks Aaron's still going to be in high school when he gets there, you know, whatever. But I think it's fun to watch them build relationships, and awesome coaches, and they were doing a really good job. They were making Jordan really look good that day, so I'm really proud of them.
I feel kind of guilty. I don't have anything to report on because I was out of town. So I wasn't around. Kids are, fall sports are starting, so everything's starting today. Yay.
2 things. One, official congrats.
Oh, yes.
So glad to have you on board. And number 2, I cannot wait for school to start. We need someone to wrap up.
I'm not ready yet.
Yeah, we need schedules. Schedules are good.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank all of you for being very patient and pausing meetings to explain some of the many acronyms and what they mean. I'd echo Sandy's comments on the camps. I mean, the older our kids get, it seems like the more value we get out of them. We did track camp for the first time this year. We did chess camp, which was awesome. I think I already did too. So yeah, just kudos to Community Ed on a good summer, and let's get them back in school.
Great, good.
That's right.
Okay. And then we have to adjourn to go into closed session per Minnesota State Statute, Chapter 13D.05 Subdivision 2B, to discuss the superintendent evaluation. I will entertain a motion to go into adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn into closed session.
Tom, is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll take a
Thank you.
2-minute bathroom
Oh
break.
my God, thank